Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul. I'm Melissa Wilson from Fox 26 News. I anchor the morning news, but I'm also a medical reporter. And through that part of my job, I get to meet some of the most amazing people. And I have an incredible family to introduce you to today. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to Precious Xander. He is a go-getter. He has been through so much in his precious life, and he just keeps on fighting. He's doing incredibly well, and he has some amazing parents to back him up every step of the way. And that's who I want to introduce you to today. So, hello to you, Mike and Marianne. Thank you for being here.
Hi,
Hi,
Melissa.
Melissa. Thanks for having us.
Well, it was such an honor to meet you in person recently and just get to see your incredible son. I mean, he is truly remarkable. So let's just get everybody up to date with what's going on here. So, you have done anything and everything in your willpower to make sure that your beloved son has as normal life as possible. So, let's first of all begin with what is going on with him. And, eh, but before we get to that, I always like to paint the picture of just how incredible he is and how what he loves to do. So tell me some things about him and what he enjoys in life.
So he's it's just like every other common child. I mean, he loves different activities. He loves going camping with us. He loves to code and build robotics. I mean, so we end up building like robots on Saturdays as part of his education. He is homeschooled, so he gets to kind of choose the curriculum that he wants when it comes to the fun stuff, right? So we're doing coding and robotic building. We end up playing some Pokemon, other board games, and doing Pokemon tournaments, and he plays video games. And so we just try to keep him as active
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah, just normal kid stuff, right? And that's what
Yeah.
is so very important. All right, and then let's just go into what is going on with him. So spinal muscular atrophy, a lot of people may have not have heard of SMA. What is that and how has that affected his life?
I'm gonna let
Oh.
you take that. I mean,
So, Alexander was born with a genetic disorder, which we had passed on to him. We were missing one of our DNAs, and that was passed on to him. Technically, it's muscle weakness of his voluntary, not voluntary, but the big muscles that we normally don't think of moving, like crawling, standing, all that stuff. But his hands, his fine motor skills, is not as affected, so that's why he can um, manipulate Legos, Play-Dohs, in his own way. But sometimes he still needs some assistance, um, and it's passed on one out of
every four
40.
it's at one out of every 10,000 children.
Yes.
Mhm.
And if two people are carriers, like my wife and I, then it's one every four children. One every four of our children will have it.
And also it affects his spine. So let's talk about how
Yes.
scoliosis, I mean, and we're talking severe scoliosis. It was so tough for him because it almost bent him over in his wheelchair, right?
Yes. So when he was about, I want to say 2 years old, we started doing a what they call hippotherapy,
Hmm.
which helps simulate how we walk as upright because he has not ever done right walking on his own. So we did that for a long time to actually try to prolong him from having the scoliosis because it's inevitable. But we knew it's coming, but we're trying to make sure he was older and make sure he has done all his growing parts of his body and
Hmm.
so that he can he can um live life.
Yeah. And
um
I know that's what you wanted so badly for him. And so he underwent a surgery 4 years ago. But
yes.
wow, what a tough situation it turned out to be. What happened?
So he was too young to have what they call a spinal infusion,
Hmm.
which essentially is what when they have that, his core stops growing. He stays kind of like the same size, and so he was way too young for that.
He was 8 years old.
He was 8 years old, and usually want him to go through puberty and get
Yeah.
all his growing out before they do that. So The other option we had was what they call a magic rod, and they put like 2 rods attached from his shoulder to his pelvis. And the idea is they would help straighten up his spine, and as he grows, they would use like this magnetic device every so few months to help him like stretch out the rods to make them
so he can grow.
yeah, so he can grow with them. So he went through the first surgery on that, and we felt it was pretty successful. But during about 3 weeks during his rehab, he was feeling some pain in his pelvis area. And when we went to go have an x-ray, it looked like one of the latches that connects to his pelvis detached. And so obviously the only way to do that is to go back in for a second surgery. So we went for a second surgery, and they worked on that, and they fixed that. And then after, I don't
4
know,
weeks again.
after like another month or so, having a lot of pain, and we didn't know why. And during just going home and during his, normal rehab, we found like this big cyst or something on his back. And it was like really like kind of like a puffy. It was weird. And when we went to the doctor, he looked at it and was like, well, that doesn't look normal. So he went through a third surgery to see what that was, and it was actually a staph infection. And so they had to remove one of the rods because it was fully full of staph infection. And the doctor was like, okay, well, you should be able to do okay on one rod. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll stick with that. And then a couple more months later, he was having more pain again. And when we looked into it again, they found out it was staph infection on the second rod as well. So they just had to remove the rod and move that. So he was totally no metal in his body, and they went through all the rehab or all the cleanup process. And then the idea was, well, maybe we can approach it again after a couple of years when he's cleaned up. Unfortunately, the curve on his spine was getting so bad, and we didn't want to put him through like another surgery for like a temporary solution in a way. And so we just kind of decided we're not going to do the magic rods anymore, and we're just going to try to wait it out as long as we can for the spinal infusion.
And it was a painful time for him too, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. Anyone touches him, anything that we have to do with him, he was just freaking out. His anxiety level was up. We actually went to go see a professional to help him with deal with his anxiety. And we were on that until COVID hits.
Yeah.
So it was like a year of just trying to recover from all that anxiety that he had to go through.
It was a lot to go through. And I want to make sure everyone knows, I'm going to paint the picture early here, that you have just an incredible situation going on when you met the right doctor at a different facility to help turn things around for your family. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about how faith came into play in this, because you're going through a rough time. You're seeing your child in so much pain, going through surgery after unexpected surgery after unexpected surgery. How did you get through that?
So for us, we both had faith in God. We grew up, with faith, and so it wasn't really until until when he was diagnosed at 18 months when things really kicked in for us, that we had to turn not just to each other and not just to our family, but we had to turn to a higher source. So, we really embraced God and we embraced our church, and it really helped us get through some of the tough times. And one of the things I like to say is because he went through a clinical trial, and for a drug that he takes right now. It's called Spinraza, and it's a drug for SMA. And the idea was we wanted to get him into this program so we weren't sure how long it was going to take for it to be public. And so we went everywhere in the US that we can. Unfortunately, we went to Dallas first because it's the closest that was offering it, and they only had 3 patients, and they said, no, we're not taking any more. We went to Columbus, Ohio, and they said, no, we're not taking any. And we went to USC in California, Southern California. They didn't take any. So it came down. We went to Florida, and they were skeptical, and they were like, well, maybe he might be a good candidate, but they weren't really sure because he didn't he was only like 3 years old or 4 years old, and he wasn't really interactive a lot with them, and they were like, well, he needs to listen more and stuff. I'm like, well, it's kind of hard for a 4-year-old to sit down and listen.
Right.
So then we flew over to Colorado, and they were, gracious enough to offer us to get him into the program, and he was the last patient out of the ones that they're accepting. And what really moved me and with faith is that during this whole process, I was praying to God, and I was asking, like, please get him into this program, and this is very important for him. And I remember driving home after work, and I was just praying in the car during traffic jam, and I heard a voice inside me saying, don't worry, it's going to happen. Just be patient. And 2 weeks later, we got accepted into Colorado. So, and I'm
So that voice was very true, and that you were hearing. What a huge blessing.
Yeah.
That helped your family so much. And it's such a blessing, I think, for people to realize during tough times, if you can realize that there's something so bigger than us in this world, I feel like it brings a lot of people peace. Every patient and their families that I talk to who believe that, it helps them a lot. Okay, so let's talk about the saving grace. Marianne, I understand you were a mama on a mission, and you were going to find somebody to help your boy, right? That's
Yes.
what we bring in Dr. Borden with UT Health Houston and Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital. I was so honored to meet him. What a fun doctor he is, but also brilliant to help you guys out, right?
Yes, he's a wonderful doctor. Actually, in every step of the way of Alexander, I've always prayed, especially during times that are really, really tough as a mom to see your kid go through. One of them was the clinical trial. I can't do all that on my own. We called everywhere, and every time we were told no. And I asked God, was like, why can't he participate? Why is it not his time yet? And I think you're not supposed to ask God that, but I did. And little did I know he was actually listening to our prayers. And then Alexander went through the whole staph infection, and that was our first rodeo on big giant surgery. And I was crying because my son wasn't the son that I'm used to. He's full of life. He loves to go out. He wanted to just stay home. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to go to. And all I could do is really just pray. And then
his attitude would like change completely too. I mean, I don't mean to cut her off, but like he would go from this cheerful kid, like she was saying, to like a kid that's just like, it's not our son. It was like a body snatcher or something that took over him. It was weird.
Yes. And so when I knew he still needed to do his surgery. And so for days and months, I've been like, the whole recovery time that he's doing, I was praying on the side to know what move can I do? How can I help him? And so that's when I went to one of his doctors. Actually, she's not here anymore, but she was one of the best ones that helped us. And she pointed me to Dr. Borden. She said, I know you already have an orthopedic surgery, but maybe it's a good thing to get a second opinion, get to know somebody else. And I'm very leery because, we've known all these doctors all our lives. We don't like changes. And so we went ahead and go and meet Dr. Borden. And we met him and we talked to him. We find out that when he did his residency, he was at Boston, and he did SMA at the time when he did his residency. So I was like, okay, this sounds like an answered prayer again, because he's leading us to a person out of nowhere to be part of the team.
And he showed me the x-rays that he started with when before he was able to pull off this surgery. And it is remarkable, because your son, from what I understand, was having a hard time breathing because his his lungs had collapsed into his rib cage, and he was able to straighten it up so much that he's able to sit up. What is the difference you see in your son today after he's recovered from that surgery and how he was before that?
Oh, confidence is so big right now for him. And one morning he got up and we put him on his chair, and he was in the bathroom, and he looks at himself and goes, I actually look good. That's what he told me. And I was like, this is after surgery, and I'm like, thank you, Lord, because I didn't know how to help him.
Yeah.
And so there's other ones where when he gets sick, he would after the all that experience, when he gets sick, he often have a cough and cold.
Mhm.
Little things like that can get him to the hospital and stay there for weeks.
Yeah, he used to catch pneumonia quite easily,
Yes,
and we'd have to get him on like antibiotics like fast, or he would be hospitalized. And he's already been in the hospital like 3 times for pneumonia
just for pneumonia.
before all
Well, it was
this.
cough and cold, and then it
Yeah,
becomes a pneumonia.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so right now, the last one he had was back in January,
yeah.
and he recovered with that for like in a week's time. Usually it's about 2 to 3 weeks, and we're just home sitting. But that was really quick for us to be recovering in 1 week.
And he just had a birthday recently.
Yes.
How
We
so
are always we are always blessed to have another year with him.
Yeah,
yeah.
Big
That's
12,
always
the
yes.
Big 12 years
The
old. So
Big
it's
12. Oh
almost
my
a teenager.
goodness. So excited for him. It's just such a fun thing to be able to talk to him when I got to talk to him about his birthday. And I want to talk more about what you've gotten to do since he's feeling better. How has it changed his life? Because I understand he even got to be part of the Houston Fireballs. Tell us about that team.
Yeah, it's a power soccer team, and I mean they've been great too. He was able to they get into a chair that's rigged for power soccer, and they have like a little guard on it, and he was able to go get around and easily play,
Maneuver the balls.
maneuver the ball and stuff, and play and be part of a team. So it's just like any other child that wants to be part of a sports team. So he had a good experience with them. They were great.
Oh, that has to feel so good for you as his parents to see how far he's come and then see him out there just being a kid like he deserves to be.
Yep. And yeah, so I mean, all this stuff is, it's been a big blessing. I mean, we know, it's God's helped us, but we also know that without the people in his life, the team, the medical team, it wouldn't be possible either. So, we're very grateful to have Dr. Borden in our life to help make this possible.
That's so beautiful to see. And I love just everything that you do for him. Here it looks like he's enjoying some cool water on a hot summer day.
Yeah, that's at our pool. So he has a beach chair, so we can actually get him into the water, and he can actually kind of swim still while being in his chair a little bit.
What a blessing to have equipment like that, though, like you said, where he can play soccer, where he can get in the water. I mean, we have come a long way
Yes.
with things like that. I know it has to just bring normalcy to your family.
Yes, yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's a challenge that's him being at his Pokemon tournament.
Mm-hmm.
He took I think second place for the kids in his age group.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a big blessing. It's for us. It's also it's we have to pray every time we ask for some medical device or something, because we never know if our insurance will say no, we're not going to cover that. It's going to be out of your pocket. But luckily, everything that he has needed in the past and currently needs so far has been covered, and it's been it's very little out of our pocket, which has been a great blessing. There's some things obviously we do have to cover that doesn't get covered, but it hasn't been a deal breaker yet. So
well, and thank goodness for organizations like Make-A-Wish with the RV that he wanted, so that you all can enjoy life, right, and be able to camp and just be a family. So nice.
Yeah, he wanted to go to Hawaii first, but because of COVID, they were like, no, we can't send you there. So he loves camping, and we were tent camping. We were trying to make, tent camping work for him.
Yeah.
It was a challenge, but we ended up getting it done. And so he said, hey, maybe I can get some, like an RV or something. And we're like, I'll ask him. And they offered, they said they normally don't do that, but because of COVID, they were going to make an exception. And he was, again, the last child to get an RV. So we're like, all right. So he's got
way to go.
Got a little toy hauler that we're able to lower the back down, and he can roll up in it, and we can go camping. And I told him that's a gift that can last a long time versus just one trip. I mean, he can
It
go
is
many
so
trips with it. So
It is so very true. Now we just need to let it cool off so you can enjoy it a little more, right? Well, thank you
yeah,
for joining me today. You're such a blessing. It's such a, just a, like I said, a true honor to meet your family, to see how you handle things. And I feel like we can all learn from you. You're just full of grace and love and light. So thanks for sharing that with us.
thank you so much, Melissa. Thanks for
All
having us.
right. You guys take care and keep us up to date with your precious Xander and how he's doing.
We will. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks again. And I just want to remind you all, you can always find us on Fox 26's YouTube page for all my Lunch for the Souls. I hope you'll continue to join me week after week. Wednesdays at 12:30 is the place to be. So I hope to see you back here next time. You can find me on Fox 26's website if you would like to be featured here on Lunch for the Soul. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for being here.